Well, the coalition is calling Australia's failed bid at a tariff exemption a result of weak and incompetent leadership. For more on this, let's bring in Opposition Leader Peter Dutton in Brizzy. G'day, Pete. How are you? What in the world makes you think you would have made any difference here?
Well, Carl, in 2018, the coalition government negotiated with President Trump and we got an exemption because we have a trade surplus with the US and also because we'd worked very hard on the relationships, not just with the President, but people around him. And the Prime Minister can't even get a call, let alone arrange a meeting with the President. And it just shows that the Prime Minister doesn't have the gravitas or the ability to deal with the big issues that our country faces. I just think he's out of depth, and I completely and utterly disagree with the decision President Trump's made. But it's up to our Prime Minister to stand up for our country's interests, and he just hasn't done that.
Have you called Donald Trump?
I haven't as opposition leader, but I will as Prime Minister, and we'll get a deal done, and we'll make sure that we can protect jobs and protect industry, because otherwise Australians are the ones who are going to lose out under Mr Albanese's inability to do the right thing and to achieve the outcome that our country needs.
I would suggest that it doesn't matter who the PM is at the moment. In the cold light of day, this guy would rather do deals with Russia than us.
Well, Carl, we've always, faced difficult circumstances, regardless of whether it's in relation to trade tariffs or in relation to economic shocks otherwise. It's how the government of the day responds. It's how the Hawke government responded to the pilot strike. It's how the Keating government responded to, a downturn in the economy. How the Howard government responded to cleaning up Labor's mess when they came into government. There are always issues that governments have to deal with, and this is the latest. But the Prime Minister has just found himself completely out of his depth, and Australians will suffer as a result of it.
We need a little context here. Aussies are super smart. I'm not sure they lay awake thinking about the impact of steel tariffs, and the reality is the impact is pretty minimal. The problem is if it spreads to other sectors, and what's to stop it?
Well, that's the real concern, and I think you're exactly right in relation to pharmaceuticals or in relation to beef, for example. These are all real live issues, but the Prime Minister can't put his case because he can't secure a phone call or a meeting with the President. He's the only Quad leader who hasn't been to Washington to meet with the President in person. And it also comes off the back, frankly, Carl, of years of personal abuse by Anthony Albanese and Kevin Rudd and Penny Wong of Donald Trump. So what did they expect? But we have to have a strong functioning relationship with the US, even if we disagree with what the President's done. And the Prime Minister just doesn't have that relationship.
One of the issues here is that if we can't trust the President on trade, how can we trust him on security? Is it time to rethink AUKUS? We can't legitimately trust that deal now, can we?
Well, the short answer is we can and we must, because as I think the Prime Minister rightly points out, we live in the most precarious period since the end of the Second World War. So we must make that relationship work, and I believe strongly that it's in our mutual best interest, the United States and Australia, for AUKUS to work. And there's not just the submarine, there's Pillar 2 that we negotiated with the US and the UK in AUKUS, and that whole arrangement is about making sure that we're safe over the next century.
What's the plan B?
Well, there can be no plan B in relation to AUKUS. We need to make it successful, and if it falls over on this government's watch, that would be a catastrophe, because we need, as an island nation, we need that nuclear sub capacity, and it's unimaginable that the Prime Minister could stuff this up as well.
Peter Dutton, appreciate your time. We've got to move to Penny Wong now. Thank you.
Thank you, Carl. Well, for more on that escalating trade war, we're joined now by the Foreign Affairs Minister, Penny Wong, in Melbourne. Senator, good morning to you. Good to see you. So is this a failure from the Prime Minister?
Good to see you. Thanks for having me on. But, well, can I just say Peter Dutton just demonstrated why he's not cut out for the job of leadership. Whenever Peter Dutton has an opportunity to back Australia, he always goes the political attack. Some of his colleagues are saying, we don't know what Peter Dutton stands for. I'll tell you what he does stand for. Always goes for political opportunism, never for real leadership. He's just not cut out for the job. Now, one of the points he made, and I think it's important here, is he talked about 2018 and the exemption that the Turnbull government got after about a year of negotiating. I want to make this point. Part of what the Trump administration have said this time is that they made a mistake when they gave exemptions to their tariffs in their first term. So part of why they have not given exemptions to Australia and to other countries, to any other country, is they think they made a mistake in their first term. And you've heard our response to that.
Yeah.
We don't think the tariffs are justified. We don't think it's in the spirit of our friendship.
I think, Penny, that sort of speaks to a wider problem, which I want to touch on. But I guess, first of all, if we just stick with steel for a second, did you find out about this through the President's press secretary yesterday, along with the rest of the world?
Well, that was when I first heard confirmation of the reports, but you would have heard my language over the last couple of weeks. I pointed out that we had a much harder hill to climb. We obviously know we had a very difficult set of negotiations and we threw everything at it, but we did understand that fundamentally it's pretty hard when they say we made a mistake last time for us to get the same outcome.
Senator, I agree with that. I guess the issue here, though, is that this is a comprehensive breakdown in relations with the US then. If you are hearing it officially for the first time from the press secretary in a press pack, not even directly from the President or his office...
I don't agree with that.
But you just said that. Is that not what happened?
Sorry, I don't agree with your construction of that. Can I just make this point? I was the first Australian Foreign Minister ever invited to a US presidential inauguration. That was a great honour. The very first meeting that the US Secretary of Defence had with any partner was with Deputy Prime Minister Richard Marles. We had the Treasurer, Jim Chalmers, in Washington, also engaging with his counterpart. There has been unprecedented high-level engagement. So I think it's wrong to do what Peter Dutton wants to do, which is to make this a political issue. As I said, always makes it political, never backs the country.
I think that...
rather, it's to understand, the thinking of President Trump and his view about tariffs. Now, we don't agree with it, but I think that's important to recognise this is the path that the President has chosen.
No, I think that's all true. And obviously, the Prime Minister has come out and said we disagree. He's been the strongest, really, we've seen overnight that he's ever been when it comes to Trump. But it's just, Senator, as you'd appreciate, this is one of our strongest allies. So if we can't even get Donald Trump on the phone, despite attempts to talk about this, it just doesn't bode well. And then you don't just look at steel, which is, in a bigger picture sense, not going to have that much of an impact here. It's what happens next and all of that. And if he and we are conducting diplomacy through the press rather than over the phone or in person, then that is going to worry Australians.
Well, look, the Prime Minister's had 2 calls with the President, so let's everyone remember that. Not just a congratulatory call, but a substantive call where he put Australia's case, and you might recall the President after that said he would consider Australia's case, would consider the proposition we had put. So there continues to be dialogue. There is no doubt that decisions are being made very quickly in the Trump White House. President Trump and his administration have moved very quickly since they were elected.
And they're passing the message on to a press sec before they're passing it on to their allies. I mean, that is kind of humiliating, isn't it?
Well, I think what we want to say is that we have a difference of view on this, a very strong difference of view. The Albanese Labor government will always stand up for Australia's interests. This alliance is an alliance that has stood in place for many decades under presidents and prime ministers of all political persuasions, and I think it's important we stay a little calm and considered when we think about how we deal with this issue. Calm
and considered aren't necessarily sentences that we understand when speaking with Trump, right, Senator? Good luck with that. We'll check back in with you again soon, I'm sure. Thanks for your time this morning.
No worries. Great to speak with you.